Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Not Your Culture podcast. My name is Jonathan Phillip. I am a multidisciplinary artist. I'm a photographer, a musician. I do some other things on the side. But today I'm here with my beautiful guest, Stephanie
Ooh,
Ramlogan.
thank you.
She wasn't expecting that one.
We don't comment on people's lives.
We had a whole conversation about this that we'll get into later. But Stephanie is a writer and she's a lecturer at Baruch College
And Brooklyn College.
and Brooklyn College. Stephanie is the winner of the Iowa Review Fiction Award, the BCLF Elizabeth Nunes Caribbean American Writers Prize, and the 2023 Cultural Literary Excellence Award by Tatuka. But I think something that summarizes what Stephanie does best is a quote that I saw in one of her short bios that she writes about Caribbeanness in foreign. Stephanie is from Trinidad,
Yeah.
and you migrated to New York when?
Um, migrated is such a strong word. I first came in 2017, but I was back and forth.
Uh-huh.
And then when I was like visaed up and stuff, I was 2018 March.
Visaed up. It feeling like you put on a.
Well,
See, this is why I like writers, because like y'all say things and they have very deliberate meanings.
yeah. I don't even know if that's a writer thing for me or a Trini thing for me.
It might be a mix of both.
Probably.
I was telling you before we started this that I started doing a little bit more reading. I didn't go into detail because I wanted to save it for the conversation. But some time ago, I read some Orwell, read some quotes, and I've just been reading random things. And I feel like in any art, there is a certain level of you appreciate art at different levels the more time you spend with a certain type of art.
Mhm.
And I'm at the phase with reading and writing where I love exploring the deliberateness of words and the words people use
Mhm.
for the idea that they're trying to convey, the imagery that they're trying to convey. I spent some time reading some of your writing and I think it's hilarious, first of all, but I think the imagery is always there. It's very clear to see what you're trying to talk about. A lot of the writing you do is about food, which is an interesting thing. I think one of the I have notes on some of the ones that I read and watched. Oh, so I was watching that video of your love dal recipe, and a quote that you had in there was when you were mixing in the ingredients, you were talking about you have to mix them until the food start liking each other.
Oh, did I say that?
Yeah.
Very smart of me.
And that's such a colorful way of describing, the chemistry that is cooking.
I'm not sure if in the clip, because we were in that kitchen for a long time filming.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if in the clip we looked at the YouTube video.
Yeah.
Did I talk about dating and the food dating or being in a relationship?
Yes, you spoke
Yeah.
about dating. That was the whole thing. It was the food being in a relationship with each other, and I think you've said that in some of your other things that you've written, comparing food to relationships. I've been going on a ramble. Like I even remember what my questions are
No.
because I actually came into this interview thinking of so many things I wanted to talk about, and I started with like, this is what I'm going to start with. This is what I'm going to go
Well,
into.
you were saying it was interesting that I write about food.
The way you write about
Okay.
food, and I think food in general as something that is very cultural is something that stood out to me. I recall you talking about how you didn't really learn formally how to cook. Even some of the recipes that you have, it's either like you on the phone with your mom or whatever, and she told you things. And I think that's something interesting because it's like I feel like that's kind of how I learned how to cook too. Where did you already were you already a good cook before you left? Do you think?
Before I
Or-
left Trinidad.
Yeah.
I became a better cook here. And actually very recently it was during COVID because I had no choice. That was all I had to do. I was home cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I was living with someone. I was living with my partner, and he couldn't cook, so I had
Yeah.
lots of practice cooking for two.
Yeah.
Really experimenting with a whole bunch of new things. So I would say I became a better cook then. I left my mother's house just before I turned 21 to live on my own. and I knew how to make stew salmon from the can. And I think I could have done scrambled eggs.
Okay.
I don't think I could have boiled rice properly.
Boiled rice is one of these things that, like,
it's not easy, and we act like if that's the base of knowledge for cooking.
It's not.
No, it's not.
It's not. I think there's a thing with the finger.
Yeah.
And, like,
the Dominicans taught me that. Yeah. If the water needs to come up to that first line.
Yeah.
So your tip of your finger will touch the top of the rice.
Yes.
And then the water should be as high as the level of that first line.
Okay. And that's what, one serving?
No, that's the whole pot of rice.
But how big is the pot?
It don't matter.
How much rice you cooking?
Well, I also learned 2 cups is plenty for one person.
And you say 2 cups. I'm curious. Is your cup a cup, or is your cup you eyeing something, or a cup that you have in your house? Or...
When I first started cooking rice, boiling, it was a cup.
Like an actual...
Yeah. Now it doesn't matter because I do the finger thing. But what's interesting is everybody's fingers are different size, and mine is Thumbelina size.
Yes.
But it will always work. It will always work, and I think that's why I feel so strongly against this idea of like recipes. And it's not that I'm against recipes. It's just our style of cooking is very personal, and there's no right or wrong way to do something. Actually, I lied. I have a wrong way to do something, as you have read.
Yes.
But it's so much a part of us. And if you eat something, you know how to make it to the point of like, you know what it should smell like.
Yes.
You know what it should look like.
Yes.
You know what it should feel like. You know what it should taste like. And then you figure it out. It's like very much instinct. But your mother macaroni pie is not my mother macaroni pie.
Yeah.
So like to give me a recipe for macaroni pie just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So there is some sort of magic in it, I believe, where my finger measurement will work just as well as your finger measurement, because I do feel the food is so personal.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to flavor and passing things down, going back to writing, something through all my reading and stuff like that, and observing the writing of others, something that I didn't think of writing as, I mean, it was one of these things that was super obvious, but then when I put it into a more personal perspective, the importance of recording things that we say, recording things that we experience, journaling maybe, and how that passes on, who we are, but also culture. To an extent, you're saying not to do that with the recipes.
Generally, I'm in a place right now, like in my mind, for like the last few months, I'm having trouble with this idea of documentation, especially in the form of writing. It's making my writing very difficult for me, because I feel like after writing something, it feels very final. That is so evidence-based.
Yes.
Like you could go back to something written. Like the Bible was first sung, it was songs. And then when it became written, we even say it is written.
Yes.
And you can refer to this and use this and manipulate written words.
Yeah.
Right? But words are so alive, and what we're doing is so ever evolving. Any ideas will change. But when you write something and you put it down, it's so static and it's preserved, right? Now, of course, you can revise and you can go back and make amendments and all of that. But I don't know. Something about it just feeling uncomfortable to me. And I did sit in on a talk recently-ish. And what they were saying was the speaker, he was saying he stopped using the word capture when referring to photos because of, the connotations regarding slavery and this capturing.
Okay.
And this idea of wanting to hold and keep things, whether it be time, whether it be people, memories, this idea of needing to hold on to it, I guess in the conversation they were having, relates to this idea of like hoarding and, just capitalism essentially.
Yeah.
Whereas if you if you are in abundance, there's no need to hoard, So I don't know. I'm in a very weird place because I am a writer. I write to think, right? It is where I put the words on to see them, to think, because it will run. I'm never going to give you a straight answer. I'm so sorry. This is going to be a 2-hour long, right? You can tell.
I saw it coming, and I was hoping that I don't want it to be 2 hours long for viewership, but at the same time, I did see, given everything that I know about you and the things that I said I prepared, but my mind can't put them together right now, I expected it would be a long conversation. Yeah. So y'all better strap in and get a snack or something, because yeah.
Yeah, so I obviously see value in writing, and I find it very satisfying when you do find that word.
Yeah.
That actually can connect with that feeling. Like what you were saying, you were noticing I was using words that felt like what it meant.
Yes.
That is very satisfying to me because that's not easy, and people can't read your mind. And that's what art is, right? It's basically taking your brain and putting it in some sort of medium for somebody else to understand what is in your brain. And writing is that for me. But this idea of it being kept and preserved, somebody referred to me as like a preservationist recently, and I was like, I don't know if I like that.
So I think this comes back to what I was originally saying about the levels of appreciating an art or practicing an art. I think there's a point in time where you're learning this thing. There are rules, there are reasons why you're doing it, and then you get to a point where the rules get boring. You become an expert at what you're doing, and you realize like there are other ways that this can be done, or you want to deconstruct it completely.
Well, what are the rules in art you're talking about?
When I say, so, okay, if I'm going to do photography, for example, there's like, you know what the rule of thirds is? Yeah. So there's like rule of thirds, and, you position your subject in a certain place, and you have your light in a certain way and whatever. But when you become comfortable with this thing, you're like, okay, maybe I'm not going to do that because I want to tell a different story. There's a reason why I'm going to do this in a different way.
And I guess I'm asking you that question because did you need to learn the rule of thirds to be able to develop this new creative eye? What if you never had any rules? Do you think that your journey towards that creativity would be different? Like you'd never get there?
That I'm not sure of, because I think I always use them. I use the rules as like a guideline. And I think there's a point in the learning process where you're like, to me, if you don't know what the right things are, if you don't have them like a structure to be like, these are the right things, if you're not some kind of prodigy, right, you'll be trying a thing and you're like, something about this doesn't look like this person's work, or something about this doesn't feel right. I'm trying to get something that I don't know how, which is like the benefit of a formal education, because you have all the tricks and tools that you need to get the image that you want. And when you become a fully realized artist, you can be like, okay, I have all this information. I can take and choose what I want whenever, or not use it at all, because I have enough command of that thing that I can just do whatever I want. But I did want to come back to you about not capturing and these things, because where I am on this journey, and we've had conversations about this before, is the need to record, especially with our cultures, the need to have formal recordings, formal documentation of our cultures. Yes, cultures always evolve, but what is happening, and I'm sure you experienced this when you left Trinidad to live here, is that there are things that are precious and unique about our cultures that we don't really get to appreciate until we leave. Some people have the foresight and the vision and the connection to the land to see these things from within. But I think when you leave, you tend to become a lot more patriotic. You tend to realize like, oh, what I have is really, really special. And as a writer, you will feel more inclined to talk about these things. Whereas there are people who are out there who have no connection to this thing but appreciate it because they immediately see how wonderful and unique and beautiful it is, and jump into documenting it first. And what you have is there are more of these people out there thinking about that than there are people in there thinking about that. And the majority voice, which might not have the experience or the background or the knowledge or the research to really understand what they're seeing, is recording and cementing, capturing.
You'll see from now on, every time you use that word, you're going to pause and be like, because that's me now. I can't say the word anymore.
That is. Yeah. That's what that is. That is removing our culture from the context with which it existed. They're capturing it.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Yes. It's removing it from the context that it existed, and puts it in a place where it's not comfortable.
Exactly.
Whereas with us, what's a better word for what is a better word?
I don't know. I've been thinking. I think context really matters. So what do you want to say? I think it will vary according to what you're trying to say.
So what I'm trying to say is the outsiders have captured our
or they aim to capture.
They aim to capture our culture from a context which for them they might think they're appreciating it and
they don't think they're appreciating it. Just stop there right now.
Okay.
Podcast is over.
Maybe they don't think they appreciate it.
No, they want to see how they can benefit from it.
Fair enough. Right. Fair enough. But those of us who just know the thing, we don't know how special it is. We are not so inclined to document the way that the outsiders do. Now, you as a writer who have left Trinidad and you're like looking back and you're like, here are all these things, and here's this person who writing a whole article about a double. And
the singular of doubles is doubles. That's the first doubles lesson.
Doing TikToks about getting million views on a double and double
on a doubles.
A double and oxtail.
Why you guys say double?
It doesn't make you cringe.
It just hurts a little bit, but it's fine. It's okay. You're not Trini. It's all right.
No, I'm saying a double deliberately.
Oh, I can't understand that. I don't. My brain is shutting down.
In one of the articles that you wrote, you spoke about how someone said a double.
I say they. The general.
They said a double.
Yeah.
Yes.
People say double. They do. And I mean, they obviously don't mean it in any bad way. They just don't know. And
But that is my point.
Yeah.
That is my point. There is documentation out there, or there are recordings out there.
Or there is your friend next to you in the line who could just be like, "Is that doubles?"
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's what that's my questioning. Right? For so long, our culture has thrived.
Yes.
Our recipes have been passed down. So our songs have been passed down, our stories, our ways of doing things without being written. Right?
Yes.
So how come it lasts so long? Why now there's this urgency? Like if we don't write, and I think
globalization is the urgency.
Well, who do you want to keep it for? I think that's the core of the question, right? Who is it for? Because I understand when the documentation comes, because perspective is central to all of this, right? So when it's non-Caribbean people, particularly people in the West who are covering the Caribbean and focusing on certain things in the Caribbean because that's their lens, right? And creating a certain impression of the Caribbean, who are they making like that content for? It's not us, because we know a different thing, right? And then when we make Caribbean content, who is it for? I know it's not for them. I'm not making thing for them.
Yeah.
I'm making for me.
Okay.
And by extension, us.
Okay.
Right? But in that sense, it's less of a me telling you doubles is doubles and more of a we are talking about this thing we already know about.
Yes.
And we are just understanding new things about it and our relationship to it and to each other that we'd never considered before. Yeah. And it is a conversation. It is a conversation. It's not a teaching. It's not a demonstration. You know what I mean? So yes, I think writing even record keeping is important, especially for historical facts and information.
Mhm.
But I feel like that reliance on making sure you have a video of this, or making sure that this is written down, or make sure that I think that is not from us.
Okay.
I don't, because when you think of like French cooking, European cooking, they have a right and a wrong way to do things. They have measurements, right? A bechamel is not a bechamel if you don't do a certain thing and you don't flick your hand a certain way.
Okay.
In Trinidad or in the Caribbean, everybody doing some version of jerk, and it's all jerk.
Yeah.
You know, it's all oil down.
Or is
Grenadians do not agree.
it?
It's, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not all oil down. But, but it's breadfruit. There's breadfruit involved. But you know what I mean?
But here's the issue. It's so, what about our people who are like you and me,
Mhm.
who do not live in our original countries, and we just looking for what is on the menu, what the menu says that it has.
Mhm.
You look for a Caribbean restaurant and it's a Jamaican restaurant,
Mhm.
right? And it's a Jamaican restaurant selling things that Jamaicans are not known.
I know you keep doing this.
No,
Whatever you're talking about, don't sound like it's a Jamaican restaurant.
no, but that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm saying, like, when I in general, I've been in New York for 7 years now.
Mhm.
When I think of a Caribbean restaurant in New York,
Mhm.
my mind is automatically, it's a Jamaican restaurant.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a Jamaican restaurant that will have Jamaican things,
Mhm.
but it'll have other things that I never hear Jamaican
Right.
cook.
Well, it's usually like a Caribbean, like a pan-Caribbean
But
sort
it's a
of.
Jamaican restaurant.
But I mean, but that's because, again, perspective and lens, right?
Yes.
The proximity of Jamaica to, let's
Yes.
focus on New York.
Yes.
The amount of the number of Jamaicans in New York versus other islands,
Yes.
and then the popularity of Jamaica versus everybody else.
Yes.
When they hear Caribbean, again, because that's how it has been documented through their lens,
Mhm.
they think it's Jamaica,
Yes.
right? Because Jamaica has a certain tourism culture. Jamaica has a certain relationship with the U.S.
Yes.
Bob Marley was famous, like, you know, so they
Yeah.
think it's Jamaican.
Yeah.
And then Jamaicans tend to be the ones opening it, or Caribbean people,
Yeah.
understanding that, well, if we're going to serve this culture, we have to have the Jamaican food because that's what they know.
Yeah.
But it's also Caribbean people going to come here, and we are Caribbean people, so let's have callaloo, let's have bacon shack, let's have oil dung, let's have, you know, and then there's like all these things.
Yes.
And that's how you just end up with curry channel on a doubles. It is. You know, because it's like we treat doubles like it's a roti, but it's a taco. I just have my doubles talking points. I need to say.
As I told you before, you see, I don't see, and here's an issue.
Yeah.
Here's the issue. As I said, I have not had enough doubles in my life
Okay.
to tell you what doubles is.
I don't know. Depends on the context.
What
it'll be
doubles is.
Well, in our language, it is. But if you want to speak in Americanized English, it'll be doubles are. Because you're talking about what doubles. Actually, no, it is.
It's
I mean, it is.
you they have teaching the people children.
You don't even want to know what I be teaching you. That's a different conversation. I am not. Let's stop. I need this visa. I need to keep my job.
No, I'm kidding.
I'm not.
No, yes, I have not had enough doubles to tell you what, to be able to determine. I mean, and you said like your double is going to be different from.
Well, my preference for doubles is going to be different from somebody else's.
Yes.
Preference. Yeah.
Yes, but then there's a specific recipe.
It's not a specific.
Or there are fundamentals.
Yeah.
That make doubles.
I would say so. Yes.
Yes.
Or there are fundamentals that disqualify something from being a double.
Okay. Yes. But that's why I think it should be documented.
Mm-hmm.
Because I, a St. Lucian who has had doubles maybe 4 times in his life,
mm-hmm.
cannot tell the. I mean, I have nothing.
But doubles is not from St. Lucia, so why you have to be a double specialist?
No, I'm not saying I'm a double specialist, but I can't tell you if today I'm like I want to have doubles.
Right. And you'll
not,
call me.
then I'll call you.
But that's what I mean. Like,
That's
are
it,
you
okay.
really going to go Google what is doubles? Because that's what we getting at, right?
Yes.
If it's documented, you're going to go to Google.
Yes.
On the white people internet.
Yes.
Sorry, white people. And you are going to trust that whatever comes up is the correct answer.
Yes.
When you have access to Trinidadian people.
You're right.
And would that not be more sensible?
Yes, it is. But I think at the same time, so. For example, there's a jerk truck in this area that every now and then I go and I get lunch from with my coworkers. And one day, like, one of my coworkers asked me, like, is this authentic? And I said, I'm not Jamaican, so honestly, I cannot tell you. I think it's well seasoned.
Right.
I think it tastes good, but I cannot tell you if that is what the jerk chicken or the oxtail or the rice and peas is supposed to taste like.
Fair enough.
That being said, I tried another place closer to where I live, and I had their rice and peas, and I was like, oh shit, that's like a totally different experience.
Right.
Like, it put the one hair in the dust.
Oh, because you liked the other one.
Because I liked the other one more, and I think what it triggered more was more memory.
Okay.
Because I think I have had rice and peas from like Jamaicans that I know. And
like home cooking.
Like home cooking. And I think it was the flavor. It was the certain flavors within the rice and peas that was like, oh no, this feels more authentic. You know, something about it felt more authentic. Now, these other people, again, I don't have enough context to be like, both of these could be good, and that one is from that lady from over there, and that one is from that lady over there, from two different parts of Jamaica. I don't know. But I think the flavor resonated more with me in the newer one that I tried. And I think it was just such a fascinating thing. I do get what you're saying, though, where it's like, I guess if you're looking for authenticity, you should go to the authentic source.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because there are no rules, right? Yeah. But I've been thinking about, none of these are conclusive ideas of mine. I have just been thinking. That's why I'm saying, like, when I write and I submit something and it's almost like the conversation is over, I don't feel good about that.
Yeah.
Because I'm still thinking my mind is going to change. And then you have evidence of me saying a certain thing that I wasn't ready to decide on. And I may never be ready, right? It'll be an ongoing conversation.
Yes.
And what's way more important to me is not making a statement. It is developing these ideas, right?
Yes.
And I love to change my mind. I love when a conversation changes my mind. That's productive to me, right? Not that it's not satisfying to put something down on paper and I look at it and I think, I like how I said that, or I feel good about that. There are definitely those moments. But I also have many moments where I look at things and I'm like, fuck, like I wish I didn't use that word, or I don't mean this, or this is wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You don't even want to see how much I'll edit something. Yesterday I was writing a blurb that was 250 words and it took like 4 hours. Right? Because everything is to be considered.
But I also think there's something beautiful about that, though. I think there is a beauty in what naturally happens, and I think there's also beauty in being able to. I mean, that's what I'm appreciating now, a lot more now with writing, and me trying to get back into writing. Is like, there's something beautiful about having, like, even now I'm talking to you and there are like 5,000 things going through my head right now, right? And I can't really put down or tell you what I want to say, all the million things I want to say. But like, when you write, you have to be so much more intentional about what you're writing. And I think there's something beautiful because it helps clear your mind better and try to streamline things in a way. I think both sides are pretty beneficial, because sometimes you say something and it's not something you expect or something you meant, but it has a meaning that you didn't even realize that you could discover, or it could take the conversation somewhere where you didn't expect it to go, but it brings something different. Whereas also when you write something, you're like, okay, this is what I want to talk about, and you're trying to find, out of 100 words that you could use in this one situation, what is the one that is conveying the exact feeling that you're trying to say? I think there's beauty in both. And I think, especially when it comes to being a Caribbean writer, I think there's a certain beauty in the way we express ourselves that it's very organic.
Mm-hmm.
It's very organic, and the way we use language is very playful. It's very colorful. It's something you could say something like, again, you said the thing about the food liking each other, and I'm like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. You know, it's a sort of informal, you know.
Like they want to get close.
Yeah, yeah.
They want to integrate a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You know, because I don't like you is kind of like this.
Yes.
But you want the ingredients to do
Yes.
that. You know.
Yes. I mean, I even had a friend tell me something. I wanted. This was one of the most life-changing statements that my friend said. It was so empathetic, but it was said in the most Lucian way ever.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, I don't even know how to say it in a way that won't be taken in the wrong way without context.
Okay.
Do you know what Bum Bum Chikilik is?
Isn't that a comedy song? No, that's something else. I thinking I like ship bum bum now.
I mean,
Informer is what I'm thinking about.
Bum Bum Chikilik is eating ass, right?
Oh,
yeah.
So it's literally what it sounds
yes,
like.
it's eating ass.
Are we allowed to talk about it or something?
I need to. I cannot. I
anyway,
need to share
this is something I want to talk about. So tell me.
We are not going to talk about
It's been a long time I've had this conversation.
This is not a conversation that I want to have on this podcast.
Bum Bum Chikilik.
But you need the Bum Bum. For those who don't know what Bum Bum Chikilik is, it is an archaic way of saying eating ass.
How long have people been eating ass?
I don't know, but I feel like I haven't heard somebody say Bum Bum Chikilik in a long time.
To make it archaic?
It is the kind of thing that I would be just as I was when the person used the word, that I was very surprised that he used it because it was something that I have not heard in a long time.
Continue.
It may not be archaic in the sense of the word archaic, meaning years and years, but in my lifetime, in my lifetime, I probably haven't heard Bum Bum Chikilik since, I don't know, Chikilik.
Chikilik. Bum Bum Chikilik. I'm going to put that in my Instagram bio.
I'm sorry, this took a turn. But it was like the most unpolitically correct way someone could have explained the most empathetic idea.
Okay.
And the context of that was that there's a group chat that I'm in with a bunch of people, and there's
like Lucians?
Yes. And there's one person in particular who is raging homophobic.
Okay.
The kind of person who just will bring up their homophobia like out of nowhere.
They're probably gay. That's how you know. Anyway, continue. I don't know your friend. Go ahead.
Bring up the no. You're on point. No, not that they gay. I don't know that they gay.
Okay. But it's a tendency.
But what I thought was like, okay, is this person struggling with something?
Right. Yeah.
So I sidebarred somebody who I'm closer to. I'm like, yo, this guy.
Right.
We could be talking about shoes, and he'll find a way to bring up something.
Oh, okay.
In the conversation. So like at this point, I was just very fresh. So I sidebar one of my friends, and I'm like, I think he might be struggling, with something, and it's none of my business.
Yeah.
But it was me talking about frustration because
coming from kind of making it everybody's business.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But he would do it so consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And what my friend said was, maybe it was an abuse, like he was in an abusive situation that he doesn't know how to cope with. So, and that's how he releases that energy in the world. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. It could be something like that as well.
Yeah.
And so my friend went on to say, so maybe he's not in the closet, but he's struggling with past Bum Bum Chikiliks.
This is the most empathetic thing anybody's ever said to you.
It was just how it was said. It's not the most empathetic. It was how it was said.
You started off talking about, I'm reading Orwell and quotes. Right? I'm doing some reading and, some Orwell. And then
I did not read
you
about
sit
Bum
on
Bum
long
Chicken
enough
Leaks
and it's boom boom chicken leaks.
because I thought it was so quintessential Lucian.
Yeah. No, I feel you.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It meant a lot to me
I love that. I love that.
as a Lucian.
Yes.
That like if I showed that statement to somebody not from St. Lucia, it wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Right? The first half would make a lot of sense. The other one would be contextual,
Mm-hmm.
but the imagery.
No, but let me bring it back to writing, right? Because this is another part of this sort of ruminating I've been doing. Our language is oral, right? Not to continue on the sex, but our language is oral. It's spoke because I write and my fiction is very often written in Trinidadian English,
Yes.
right? And there's no standardized way to spell these things, and then there's no one Trinidadian, and it's accents essentially because it's all English language, but you know what's made it different, or like where this dialect comes from is there's accent involved, there is other influences like Spanish, French, indigenous words. So there's no real is not the word, but there's no standardized way of writing this.
Yes.
And a lot of times I wonder, is it meant to be written?
Written. Uh-huh.
And because our first of all, our people learning English were often illiterate.
Uh-huh.
So that communication and even the way the words came up, like a lot of patois words in Trinidad is just like French words sounding funny.
Yeah.
And you say it fast.
Yeah.
And les avocats becomes avocat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, am I doing this? Am I trying to Europeanize us by, or, like if I want to make a recipe on a formula and say something is wrong or right, and I have been doing that with doubles, right? I'm saying that that's wrong, which
Yes.
I'm thinking about, right? Like, is that this sort of like European lens on how to approach things? Like your friend telling you what he told you. Did he text it to you?
Yeah, it was texted.
Right. But I mean, we are evolving because that would be something you'd say.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I wonder if it would feel different, texted or said to you.
Well, a Bum Bum Chicken Leaks would feel different.
I don't know. Well, I would not know. You are clearly not homophobic. Well, I don't know who's doing it.
Sorry, I just thought it was so funny.
Are you editing?
I am keeping this. I thought.
Wow.
I thought and
I thought my auntie would have been studying my cursing.
I thought this needed to be documented publicly. Okay. All right. I couldn't keep it to myself.
Thank you for sharing.
There are just certain things that you that is why I like writing, or that's why I appreciate writing, because there are certain things, and with your stories, I read this short story about Stephen cashews, and there are certain things that why especially telling these stories are important, having these documenting these conversations are important. It's because for people like me, who I do have my connection to home because I go there all the time, but people who don't have that connection, that maybe you can find some of that familiarity in these places that are documented.
So this is an argument my friend raised with me. So she is born and raised in New York, in Queens. Her family's Guyanese. Her parents are Guyanese. And she identifies very closely with her Guyanese culture, but she also identifies as a New Yorker. And when I talk about Trinidadian food in the diaspora, she feels slighted by the way I refer to Caribbean food here, because she's like, well, I'm not considering my privilege. Exactly what privilege? I'm not. I mean, I could assume what she means, but there's some people who they can't go back home. This is the closest they could get to home, and this is all they have. Why am I shitting on it like it's not real, right?
Yeah.
They feel good to have it. Like you feel good to read about this thing because you can't go home and thief cashew nuts in a shop like you would have as a kid, right? But I am not saying I don't want to invalidate the experience by saying I'm extracting it from a Caribbean place and then putting it in a different space, and I don't just mean the country. I mean like in a book, in a photograph or whatever. I don't want to invalidate that. The experience is what is authentic, right? But what I've been trying to communicate is the Caribbean or Caribbean culture, or just culture generally, but I'll just say Caribbean because that's what we know, is not just what happens on the islands.
Yeah.
like Caribbean American culture, as much as people want to reject hyphenating because it others them from other Americans. But I'm just saying, Caribbean people here are having a unique experience. And I don't think that by saying it's different from what's in Trinidad itself or the Caribbean itself is shitting on it.
Yeah.
It's just I want the people here to understand that you are having a nuanced experience.
Yeah.
That is informed by both your Caribbeanness and your Americanness, the limitations and the availability of what is happening in the US with regards to food, with regards to your culture. And that should be appreciated just as much as Caribbean culture, but don't call it authentic if it's not,
Yeah.
Because what's wrong with the way you're doing it? Why can't you just say, this is how we do it in New York, or this is how we do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I forget why I was talking about this. What were we saying? Oh, you were talking about reading the thing.
Yeah.
And just feeling that nostalgia through something else. But I'll tell you something about that story. That story is about my friend and her brother when they were kids. And she told me that story that I didn't. So that story came to me orally.
But now it's to all of us.
I guess.
To you documenting it.
Yeah.
It's also, and it's also representation though. Because I think also when you are someone who you've left your land, we are people are tribal, and we strive to finding others or finding experiences that remind us of who we are or that we can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you're in a place where you're the other, and everything else is, you're constantly finding like you can't always get the authentic experience. That's the point. You can't always get the authentic experience. And the closest to that are when the authentic experience is documented. When the recipe from home is brought here, and you use as many of the ingredients as you can find to recreate the dish. You read in the stories, the Caribbean literature stories of a little shop on the side of the road, or running through banana trees. I didn't run through banana trees in my childhood.
You see, this is the American lens coming in. That's what they think you did.
I know. I mean, I have walked through banana plantation, but
I have not.
But I'm saying having these voices recorded, not captured, recorded, I think is important because it gives you that relatability. It also gives you the opportunity to be like, no, actually, that wasn't my experience. Yeah. Here's what my experience was, and to have a conversation. Yes, you can have it face to face, but it could also cause someone else. I mean, the whole point of me doing this is to be like, hey, I'm a Caribbean person who moved to New York, and this is what my experience was. And somebody who came from St. Lucia as well could have come here and will have a completely different experience from me, which is why I'm allowing people to come in and have these conversations with me. And so I'm doing the process of recording and documenting this because I love having the authentic conversations, but I think there are also conversations which actually was
other
a point
people would benefit from or enjoy.
It is something that I actually wanted to bring up when it came to writing, where it's a lot of the times I think we try to choose what is relevant to write, but I think everything is relevant. I think what makes, this is completely off topic, but I think what makes my favorite shows on TV most enjoyable are the smaller moments more than the bigger moments. The dull, random shit that happens in like a Seinfeld episode or the Seinfeld I think of because Seinfeld is very much like a show about nothing. And I use that specifically because it is really about nothing and finding comedy in like the nothingness of life and just people's quirks and stuff. I think it's a perfect example of that, and that's why the writing is so great. It's because like it's a show about nothing, but it's enjoyable to experience these nothingness because it's like sometimes you might relate, or sometimes something is so bizarre. You're like, what the hell? But a lot of these stories are true stories. Someone was just Larry David or Seinfeld were just able to find the humor in the mundane or the miniature moments that, otherwise people are thinking just big picture plot. You know what I mean? I think of I recently rewatched Sopranos, and Sopranos, the first time I watched it as a drama, second time I watched it as a comedy, because I'm like, again, some of the things were so bizarre that I'm like, okay, he was racist to this kid, and then had a panic attack when he saw a box of Uncle Ben's rice, and I'm like, the first time I watched it, I was just like, what the hell is happening? The second I'm watching is like, oh, this guy is so racist that like he literally had like a physical reaction.
The first time you watched it, had you been living in the US?
Yes. But that's also something I think that changes too. When you have these experiences too, you can relate a lot more to the smaller experiences as well. The first time I watched it was just like, oh, he's racist. The second time I watched it, I was like, oh, he's so racist, and the pettiness of his racism was that he had a physical reaction to seeing an image of a black man on a box of rice. That it worked him up so much, and I thought that it was hilarious. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's sad.
No, I just want to say, just hold that thought.
Yes.
Is the thought complete?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. I don't want to confuse me saying my thinking about documentation or capturing is not fiction. It's not about fiction. It's not about storytelling. It's not about video and conversations like this. It's not about being creative, and it's not about art on canvas, on film, on paper. It's not that. It's instructions is my issue. I'm an artist, of course. I believe in expression and sharing that, and people benefiting from it and seeing it and feeling. All of that is valid. I'm not confused about how I feel about that at all.
Okay.
My questioning has to do with the instruction of this is how Trinis talk.
Okay.
This is how Trinis, they're late. Yes. That's my thing, because I mean it's all everybody's point of view will be different.
Yeah.
Right? So there's no one way to do it when it comes to something like culture. Culture is people, So absolutely relating to a show, the art of it, how it's done, studying it, learning to perfect your craft, all of that is, I mean, that's what it's for.
Yeah.
And I believe in that. And I love art and, all sorts of different types of disciplines. But where I'm having my questions for, it has to do with educating about culture, and that style of education that is very colonial.
Okay.
Of the telling, of this is your textbook, and you'd read this and you remember this, and this is how it is done. And if it is not this, it is not right.
Yeah.
So I really don't care about doubles as much as it seems, but it's just like a really good analogy a lot of times.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, like, why does it bother me so much to see the changes being done to doubles? But then there are other foods, cultural, Trini foods, that things are being done to. It's being innovated, like pulori, for example. And this is where I got the idea. I saw somebody dipping shrimp in pulori batter, like a tempura, essentially. And I'm like, that looks fucking great.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I love what they're doing with pulori. There's stuff in pulori with all sorts of things that, that's really exciting to me. And I'm like, why am I not a pulori purist, but I seem to be some sort of doubles purist? Like, is this about doubles or is this about food? Like, what is my problem? And what I came up with is the people, I mean, very early in my thinking about this, but the people who are experimenting with the pulori are doing it understanding how pulori works, what it goes with, how we eat it, when we eat it, like that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The doubles is not being evolved for that purpose.
Yeah.
They added meat on doubles because Americans love meat on everything, and a vegan food is just like so strange.
Yeah.
So let's put meat, and then they'll buy it, right? And then the idea of what this even is lost, right? When you put the curry on the doubles, like why I'm so mad is not just because it tastes bad, but because the idea is that doubles is a roti.
Yeah.
Doubles is not a roti. Like I said, if I had to liken it to something culturally, the way we buy it, the way we share it, it's like tacos, way more like tacos.
Yeah.
Right? And if you understood the culture, if you were part of it in a more involved way, you would never put them things on a doubles. A doubles is a quick stand up at the the side of the road,
Yeah.
eat this thing. The way toppings are put on it, again,
Yeah.
it's just the
Yeah.
same way. If
Yeah.
you go to Los Tacos, the way that they
Yeah.
do the thing and they
Yeah.
wrap it, that is exactly how we do doubles. Roti is a sit down, eat dinner,
Yeah.
lunch, prayers, right? Doubles don't come home in a plate. That's not normal, And yes, it could be a meal. It's poor man food, supposedly, right? But it's not. It's just the essence of what it is what is being changed. I don't know if the essence of the pylori is being changed, and then like who is making the changes and why they're making the changes. I think matters to me, but I'm not against food evolving. Like somebody,
Can we pause for
yeah.
1 second? Yeah. Okay. So we had some technical difficulties, and I have no idea where we stopped. I have a sort of idea. We kind of spoke about it, but Stephanie, you can continue on to
To what I
the
was
idea of what you were saying.
when we stopped or when we were fixing.
When we stopped.
Oh, you want to finish the conversation that we were having?
Well, we don't remember the conversation that we were
Okay.
having.
So this is what I was saying. Like, we cannot replicate an authentic
Yes.
conversation exactly, and I don't think that that's the point.
Yes.
But what some of the differences to acknowledge would be, I've definitely contradicted myself. I can't remember what I've said, but no, you can go back and see what I said,
Yeah.
and and transcribe it and be like, she said this at 26 minutes.
Yes.
As opposed to if we were having a conversation, we could talk shit, right? Back and forth. Things would stand out.
Yes.
If you have a discrepancy, you call me, be like, remember the other day when we was talking and you had say this, what does your head mean? What does your head say again?
Yeah.
That is a very different exchange from this,
Yes.
right? And now I'm like self-conscious because it's not just between us. There's an audience, right? And as much as this feels natural and I could talk to you for the hour and go back, like, I don't think our conversation wouldn't have necessarily been very different in a different space.
Yes.
But I think variables around it do impact it. What I'm saying to you is meant for your ears.
Yes.
I have the awareness that other people are going to hear this. But if I think too much about them, it will affect what I want to say to you.
Yes.
But then when we're done, I'm going to be like, fuck, like, everybody's going to hate me. Like, I should not have said this. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all of this is part of me wondering about documentation.
Mm-hmm.
And you were saying, like, this is the capturing.
Yes.
And then I said, there's not as much freedom.
Yeah.
When you are capturing.
Yes.
A conversation between two people who have similar experiences.
It
is free.
Yeah. Yeah. But but that's the thing too. I think if you are able to, I see it from both sides.
I do too.
Whereas the genuine, authentic conversation is beautiful, and it is something that we wish that we can experience again sometimes. And I think living away from St. Lucia, I've had a lot of these. I've gone home and had a lot of these authentic experiences where I'm like, wow, like this is different. Like this is special. What we have is very special. From where you coming from, though, I do. When I really think of it, I do also appreciate the idea of experiencing in the moment. I got to a point with my photography where at first I was just taking pictures of everything, but I realized in taking pictures of everything, I was missing the moment. I wasn't focusing on experiencing whatever it was. I was focused on capturing it. And so it's never going to be as special looking at it through a screen or looking at it printed out. If I'm looking at the sunset, hopefully the ideal way to look at the sunset is put the camera on a tripod, leave it to do its thing, and then I sit down and enjoy it for myself. But that's not what we always do. You know what I mean? And I think I can understand the perspective of, why the authentic. If you're looking for the authentic, go for the authentic, as opposed to going for the capture, the documented
Mm-hmm.
version of that thing. If you want doubles, then you ask a Trini for
Mm-hmm.
doubles. You don't go into a doubles cookbook
From
for
the doubles cookbooks I have seen, no, you do not. You do not do that at all.
Yeah. And if it is that you want to learn, you have somebody with you to teach you how to do it. Or you develop the experience with that thing yourself,
Mm-hmm.
where you have decided what the flavor is for
Yeah, you
yourself.
could formulate an
That
opinion based on authentic
yes.
experiences. Yeah, I
Yes.
feel that.
Yes.
Yeah. While you were saying that, I was thinking of something and I forgot. Oh, right. It was you were talking about the sunset or you through the lens versus you in the moment.
Yeah.
What you see through the lens is very focused
Mhm.
in a very different way than what you see through your eyes. So it cannot be the same. Just the periphery is different.
Mhm.
If you want to just talk about, dimensions as one variable. And then the sensory experience is not just visual alone.
Yeah.
There's so much in a moment. And I don't know. As I said, this is still something I'm just curious about. I have no conclusive anything about this,
Yeah.
but I think I lean towards an appreciation that the both experiences are different and we could value each for what they are without
Yeah.
trying to make one the other.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they are very separate experiences, and they both have their benefits.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, even in the context of what you were saying about having this conversation in front of cameras and having it being recorded, and somebody being able to pause and go back and say she said what, and
Mhm.
that kind of thing. When we're having this conversation, I'm not focusing on
And then I could lie. You could be
yeah.
like, "Oh, but remember when you had said?" I'd be like, "I never said." But that's also, which is also
Yeah.
part of
Yeah.
communication,
Yeah.
right? Like this sort of selective omission,
Yes.
selective hearing
Yes.
is part of conversation and
Yes.
communication. But when it is recorded, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. We can't go back from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's there. It's you said it.
Which is how I feel about my writing. Like when it's down, like I know, for instance, there's this one, at least one article I don't think people realize authors don't always make their titles. Editors
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And an editor changed my title to something I didn't even mean, and like I don't even feel like that was my sentiment.
Was it the burnt thing?
I'm not gonna say
and
what it is. What Burns thing?
there was burnt, and then there
Oh,
was
and then
she
there was
wore red.
no, that was my choices. But again, that's a really good example. So that's a short story. I wrote it before I even started writing, really. It was for fun, it was during the pandemic. And then I didn't like the title anymore. So I changed it.
Which was the first one?
Burnt was the first one.
Okay.
And then She Wore Red to the Cremation was the second one.
I prefer she wore red to
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the journey, right? Like,
Yeah.
at what point are you done with your thought process to be like, yeah, okay, I'm done. It's cooked. Eat it.
But you don't have to be.
I feel like
I think
the media that we're using is almost asking us to be.
I think the pressure of what culture has become
Mm-hmm.
makes us feel like we have to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as human beings, we realize that nothing. We are continuously developing and growing and learning, and not to be cliche, learning and unlearning.
Yes.
And so if someone cannot understand that, if someone viewing this and cannot understand that nothing is concrete, that as a human being, these things change, um, then I don't know what to tell them. I think we need to go back to as you said. I guess documenting has made things a lot more stagnant and concrete.
And it's brought in this aspect of judgment.
Yeah, because
Again,
there's a right
removing
and a
the
wrong.
freedom.
Yeah,
Exactly.
there's a right and a wrong. There's measurable levels of how many people say this
And
versus
there
how
is
many people
consequence.
said that, and then there's consequence
So
for.
then there is censorship.
Yeah.
There you censoring yourself. So
Yeah.
so it is a removal of freedom
Yes.
in the capturing.
Yes.
That came full circle. There was something you were saying earlier. Oh my god, and I just remembered and I forgot again.
See why you had to capture it and
No, but again, and I wonder if this was it. But like, oh yeah, this was kind of it. That forgetting, and then that thought is gone.
yeah.
The freedom to you see it. This
Restart.
idea that we need to do it and remember, and let me sit here and like you have your points, and we were supposed to talk about this, and we did this.
Yeah.
Lies in the fact that I'll never speak to you again.
Yeah.
But culturally, people as a village, as a community, we are in constant communication. No thought is lost. I'll see you again. We'll talk about it. I have access to you, but we are in a very individualized society. Everything is timed in and boxed in and scheduled. So, shit, if I forget this thought, it's gone. I'll never see Johnny ever again. We'll never get to talk about it. And it's not just even just an idea. You know how weird it would be if I just call you randomly in 2 months and go, I remember the thing that I was going to tell you. Because not only is it just like strange timing, you won't care anymore.
Yeah.
You know, but if we were living in a freer way of communication, you would always care. We'd always be in communication. This would always be growing. This will be ongoing and moving into different things. What has been natural about this so far is that you didn't stick to the questions that you thought you were going to ask. I had even like thought I was going to talk about something completely different. And then we bumsy licking and all kind of things.
Bum chicky lick.
I can't do that. We do see piggy leaks though in Trinidad.
Piggy licks?
Yeah, you know what's piggy leak?
What's piggy
Just
lick?
like a penis. But like a little one. Like not a little one, like a child's. I don't want to talk about child's penis. I'm so sorry. Can we cut this out? Now I'm cancelled. But when you said it sounded like that. So there must be some sort of.
I don't think so, but I understand what you are trying to say.
We are very intelligent people.
So that definitely doesn't get cancelled. The words sounded similar.
Yes, that was what it is. Because like,
and so
it
reminding you of a word that you know of in your culture, and you were explaining to me what that word was.
Yeah, because they also, they both have like this sexual connotation, and I don't know if it is the sound of the words, the intonation, like something of that.
Well, yeah,
phonetics of that we as Caribbean people have like a sexual like association.
Yeah,
but that's the cool thing about us.
Yes,
like I would hear words in.
You said this, and I have a whole other topic, but I don't even know if I want to dive into that.
We have to do another podcast, but then you won't care anymore to talk to me again.
Yeah.
Because this is my time.
There's some.
This is all I get.
There's something that has been bothering me. Like,
is it my pimple?
I have not seen your pimple. I still cannot see your pimple, even if you point it out. No, I'm talking about that the way we talk about, or the way we're able to express ourselves about sex in Caribbean culture. I have found this is a whole. Sorry, this is.
That's right. I love it because but this is again. You're apologizing.
But that's how it works.
This is going to have a summary and this is what this is about. If we're knocking bears outside, you know how much different stories we're going to tell?
Yes.
And you will ever apologize? Right. No. So tell me the story.
The story is, I have realized that here in America, I would even say like, just on the East Coast, liberal America, right? When it comes to sex and sexual identity are treated in two different ways.
Okay.
And I feel that it is more taboo to talk about sex than it is about sexual identity, and it's the reverse.
It's more taboo to talk about sex and sexual identity.
Yes, here. And it is the reverse in the Caribbean. I feel like in the Caribbean, you can say sex things,
but you can't say.
But
orientation and all those
sexual orientation and all these things are things that people don't talk about. And there's, as I spoke about earlier, homophobia and all that kind of stuff back home. But like, you can say whatever you want a woman can say whatever she wants to a man, a man can say whatever she wants to a woman, and nobody bats an eye. Like
Right.
it's not a big deal. Here it's very much like,
do you have a
you
preference?
save it for the. Do I have a preference?
Yeah.
I think in general, like I don't like the idea of censorship.
Okay.
And I think again, context is important.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I'm not going to say wild things to my teacher
Mm-hmm.
or my boss or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're having a casual conversation with somebody, and it's along the same lines of, like, you know, culture in context, that if I'm saying something to somebody about something, it's not like I'm all peevish talking about this thing. I can just say what I want, and people know it from the context of, oh, this is what he means. He's using this language very deliberately because he's trying to get a specific idea across.
I asked because before we started and we were like moving stuff around and talking, we were kind of getting to this idea of like, what would we necessarily change culturally? Because there are things called homophobia being one of the things.
Yes.
That, you know, we would like to see changed or affected or evolved in some way. And just another interesting aspect of culture, when you think of it being documented and you think of recipe and you think of instructions and texts.
Yes.
You know, this, who gets to say what is right, what is wrong, what is good.
Yes.
It's very much, to me, I don't think of anything as right or wrong, but it's like, what do you want to achieve, right? If you want to achieve a society where more people feel free to be sexual, then I would say we need to unlearn some of our attitudes towards homosexuality.
Yes.
Right? So I think it's like, well, what is the goal? And then based on what the goal is, then we'll decide how we want to affect the behavior, like how we want to change it, but not a matter of like what's wrong with the culture and what's right with the culture. But yeah, just earlier, I thought the conversation might have gone more there. Like, there are things about this. I mean, we know there are things about us that we love. I mean, I am from the most. Well, I was going to say the most arrogant island. I could think of another one, but but I am a close second. They get enough time in this podcast already. But you know, we love us.
Yeah.
We love us, and then there's things about us that we're not super proud about.
Yes.
And very much like we do in our households, it's like, well, we can't talk about that.
Yes.
You know, like don't air our dirty laundry.
Yes.
Yeah, but I was just wondering, like, what would be some of those things?
Well, actually, this conversation actually reminded me a little bit about something that I wanted to talk about that was slightly related to the overall topic of food and food as a love language.
Right. Did you read that one?
I might have.
Okay, I'll send you that one. That's one of my favorite ones.
I might have.
There's one line I want to change, but I do love it.
Is it the one with the daughter, the spouse? Yes, I read that one. Yes. I did want to speak about that, but not in the context of necessarily, I mean, still about food, but also relating to a conversation I had with somebody that I was dating, and how we treat food as I mean, even your mother you vex for your mother and then she'll tell you come and eat. You know, she won't apologize. She'll tell you the food ready or come and eat or whatever. You know, it made me think of this conversation I had with somebody who I was dating, where I don't remember how the topic came up, but she was saying like, oh, I was saying that something that I always liked to see growing up was like how, not from a patriarchal sense, from a love sense, how the women in my family might serve the men in my family. It didn't have to be your spouse or whatever. It was like my cousin who would look at my dad and say, "Uncle, are you hungry? What do you want?" You know, and this is not her uncle as in like blood uncle.
Yeah.
This is her uncle through me. You know, and this person I was dating was like, oh, that's anti-feminist or whatever. And I said to her, like, that's not what feminism is. Feminism should be, if you are allowed to celebrate or practice your womanhood in whatever definition of womanhood means to you, it's anti-feminist if you're doing it because you are told to do so,
Mhm.
but it's not anti-feminist if
You have choice.
if you have choice and you genuinely want to do this thing.
Mhm.
Now there is a larger conversation about how you were trained as a young girl to act through a patriarchal system, but at the same time, I think you get to a point where if you are a 30-year-old woman, you're not doing this because you have to do it or it's expected of you. You're doing it because you actually it is how you. I guess you would.
I don't know if
train-
in all situations you do. People chairs very Caribbean of me. I don't think in all situations, even at 30, you're doing it because you want to. I
Yeah.
think there is indoctrination.
Yes.
However, specific to this situation, as a Caribbean woman who is very open-minded and liberal and progressive in the way that I think and see the world, living in the US as a person of color, as an immigrant, and a POC, and all these things.
Yeah.
And I love to take care of a man. Oh my God. I want to rub your foot. I want to massage you. I want to cook and feed you. I want to make all your favorite things. That genuinely makes me happy. I am sure it does come from what I was told was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know, but that's how we form preferences and
Yeah.
whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
maybe it was influenced by something, but at this stage in my life, after 37 years and doing it and it failing miserably, because all these, my friends will always eat the food, be like, oh my God, this is a keep your man meal. It's kept no one. They've all left. They've all eaten and they have all left, right? And I am still cooking. Because it brings me
Yes.
joy. I'm not actually cooking for them.
Yes.
I love giving.
So here's what was interesting. That same year, I went home. I have a friend who
Go ahead. Go ahead. I have my own idea where the story is going.
it's not going where you think it's going.
Okay.
I think I have an idea where you think it's going. I don't think it's going.
Okay.
I went home to St. Lucia and I have a friend who annually she has actually her partner has his annual Christmas lime with his boys
Mhm.
that he grew up with and whatever. And she now is as his girlfriend, his partner, has become the host of that.
Mhm.
Whereas she's somebody who loves to cook, who loves to
Mhm, mhm.
entertain, that he can just be like, yo, he's doing his thing, he's out there with his bears and they catching their kicks and whatever and
Mhm.
outside, and she'll be making the full spread and whatever. And this is not to say that he doesn't help. This is
Mhm.
she is like, you go be with them.
Yeah, it's so soothing to me. So it's be in the kitchen cooking.
Yeah, you go be with them.
Yeah.
This is my domain
Mhm.
over here.
I get it.
And he'll come in, he'll help or whatever. And so I came into this space, and this happens to me all the time. I go home and I see something, I'm like, yes, this is what I love. This is what's special about who we are.
Mm-hmm.
I am one of her friends. So I'm a guy. Most of her friends are like, she'll have like her 4 or 5 friends in that party because that's his party.
Right.
So I'm in the balcony talking to her friends, and he's with his friends. No, actually, her best friend, who's a woman, comes to me and she's like, "Oh, Johnny, are you hungry? Do you want anything?"
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, like, no problem." And in my head, I'm like, "You see, like, here it is, like this is
Yeah.
happening, right?" And then, who brings my plate is my friend's boyfriend.
Okay. That's very normal to Caribbean people.
But I am like, look at how complicated people make something that's not complicated.
Which people? That's a real question.
Well, specifically, the person who I was dating. How complicated.
But I don't know what her background is and her culture is.
Well, and again, yeah, it's a she comes from a different experience.
Right.
But from what I was trying to explain was how simple it is, and what she was doing was overthinking it.
But I
That
do
for
just
us-
in her. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that for us, it can be a love language or a way of
Mhm.
showing appreciation, a way of doing a thank you or doing a you are welcome to be here.
Mhm.
You know, culturally that is part of who we are. Yes, and again, like I understand some of it might be rooted in patriarchy and how
Mhm.
a young girl is trained.
Yes.
But I think the fact that he brought it also was also like solidifying the point that this
It had
action
nothing to do with gender.
had nothing to do with gender.
Mm-hmm.
That it was purely, hey bro, you are my girlfriend's very close friend.
Oh, you wanted
I
food, look
appreciate
food.
you. Or you were, even maybe I'm
You
overthinking
overthinking it.
Yeah. But I'm also saying like I didn't know he was bringing it.
Yeah.
Like I was asked by
would that
somebody
change
else.
your answer if you were asked if you wanted food if you knew he was going to bring it?
No, it wouldn't change my answer.
Okay.
I'm saying what I'm saying is she was viewing it. The person who I was dating was viewing it from,
I understand.
oh, a woman has to fix a man a plate,
Mhm.
you know. Whereas at home, it's you have guests. You know, you are hosting guests. You serve your guests because these are people you cherish and care about, and you want to make sure they eat.
Yeah.
You know, because making sure they eat is love.
I don't even think it's that much. Somebody hungry is your kitchen. It's kind of weird if they go in the kitchen. It's like, you know. But,
No, I could have done it buffet style. Everything was
but it's like,
organized
but it's
buffet
just
style.
it is done without thought. This is very American.
Yeah.
Right. This giving so much context and consideration and thought to things. Now, I don't think that's always wrong because in your ex's defense, I don't know. Again, very American. You can't call somebody your ex. It wasn't really together. I don't know. But like, in her defense, there are things that we overlook.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely have that experience. I grew up thinking things very normal. And then I come here and I have a different lens and I look at it.
But that's why I have this lens.
Yes.
Because it forced me.
Mm-hmm.
It forced, again, it's back to what you were talking about. When I was living in this space, this was just normal. There was nothing to think about.
Right. Yeah.
It just happened.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Coming here, it's like it's not done as often, or it's taboo, or it's seen as a different way, and I have to sit back and think like,
yeah. Does it ruin the experience for you?
It makes me appreciate it more.
Okay.
Because again, it shows me what is special about us. It shows me why we have community. Like it shows me why coming to a place here where it's like, well, this is wrong because of that, and this is wrong because of that, drives us apart more than pulls us together, makes us more individualistic than community oriented.
I guess the difference is we come from a place where we are community.
Yes.
They've come from a place divided.
Yes.
They've never been together.
Yes.
So they're not trying to separate. They are separate.
Yes.
You know, so like we just, it's not that we're ahead, but we're in a very different place.
Yes.
And this is reminding me, I read this article recently. I think it was in Stylist, which is like UK based, or it could have been here. Anyway, since the pandemic, people are having dinners at home and they're entertaining at home and they spend a house lime. This article was saying a house lime.
Yeah.
Is this just like amazing? Like, wow, like this phenomenon of people having house.
Yeah.
I was like, am I really did this? First of all, this person got paid $2 a week to write about a house lime. but it's one of those things. I'm never gonna think about why we lime in home.
But it's different too, because I think how difficult was it for you to get here?
What to
get here tonight?
We have to talk about it.
We don't have to talk about it.
But it was not simple.
It was not simple. You had to think of not just because of being on camera, but you had to think about what you were wearing. You had to think of the time you leave home. You had to think of getting. And I feel like with these house slams,
oh, true. It's like more of an effort.
It is more of an effort and a more calculated, scheduled document.
No, but I mean, we're laughing.
As opposed to a house slime that has just happened sometimes.
We're laughing at the analogy, but do you see how free
yes,
it is when it's not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think this has been as long as I expected. Even if I didn't ask you any of the original questions I planned to ask you, but I think it was a very fruitful conversation that I really, really enjoyed.
We may both be cancelled after this, so this could potentially be the last episode.
I don't think we'll be cancelled. And then if we are, I think people need to live a little and understand that, we have space to grow and change our ideas.
That's what they need to know.
Yes. In Lucia, we say, who vex lose.
Okay.
Yes. Look at that. Wow.
Is that the title of this?
Who vex lose?
/lost.
I should title my episodes.
You don't?
I don't. I do it by guest name
okay.
and yeah. But Stephanie, thank you so much.
Thank you for having
This
me.
has been lovely.
It really has
And
been.
as entertaining and fruitful as I expected it to be, even if I could not expect how it turned out, which is as it should be.
Very beautifully said.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's documented.
That, I mean, part of this has been is why I try to keep it casual. I don't prep people because at a certain point it's like I could ask you things. I can ask you specific things and then get specific answers. But I think there's something so much more beautiful to just see how the conversation pans out and touch things that I didn't even expect to even think of.
How we vibe.
And we vibe.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you everyone who has been watching or listening. This has been another episode of the Not Your Culture podcast. And I hope you have a good one. Bye. Oh, wait. Before we end. Oh my God. Sorry. I have a question that, you see, before we go, I actually forgot, and I forgot this on one of my interviews. I'm trying not to forget it again. Where's home for you, Stephanie?
Where is home?
Where is home?
Oh my God. I guess the cheesy answer would be home is not geographically explained. I talk a lot. There's this quote by Shani Mutu that says, I'll paraphrase, that you can't have two homes because you'll always be cheating on one.
Uh-huh.
And then I remember once feeling like I was homeless because I didn't belong here and I didn't belong home anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then I changed it to I'm homeful because I have so many places I could call home. So I don't think I restrict home to one place because when I refer to going to Trinidad, I say I'm going home.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I'm in Trinidad and I refer to coming to New York, I say I'm going home.
Okay.
And then when I sit in my apartment in Brooklyn and I look at my plants and my beautifully coordinated bookshelf, and I'm like, this is home.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I find home. Sitting down here with you, being able to have a conversation like this, you get me, that's home.
Yeah.
Being around Caribbean people, for me, is home.
Yeah.
Being around, just like any sort of like place where I feel in community, I guess is home.
Okay. Well, thank you. Hope you have a good night.
You too.
Get home safely. I ended the podcast already, so I don't know if I have to end it again. But yeah, this has been a very chaotic one. Thank you, everyone. Bye.